This is an invitation for you to participate in a reality television series which could transform the social and environmental challenges we all face today. If you want to do something big to change the world away from its present course of destruction, here's an extraordinary opportunity.
Monkey Valley is a very special location to initiate a program like this. It started out with a vision of duty to protect a very sacred milkwood forest. In that, it's already an amazing accomplishment that we have preserved this.
You can develop without hurting anything. You can put people in a place where they respond to their surroundings. I film at environmental and climate change conferences all over the world. Where the other television crews are filming the politicians, I'm filming the scientists and the people who have the solutions, which the world needs to hear. We're actually talking about reducing, possibly by 2020, possibly by 2050, to half. I mean, it's as though you don't understand that before 250 million years ago, the Earth was too hot for us to live on because these gases were in circulation, and we have already put some of those gases back. And we should be actually declaring a state of emergency as far as we're concerned and working out how to stop the use of fossil fuels, and that is already possible.
I think that as a matter of principle, of course, you're absolutely right.
Private companies and public sector companies, many of whom are now leading the way and producing an important source of optimism as they invest in renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy, energy efficiency, sustainable forestry, sustainable agriculture. These new patterns of economic gain will mark the road toward the future.
We should and can do it with enough determination. And if we can have governments help a little bit by, very simplistically, do not tax clean fuels, tax dirty fuels, as clean fuels start getting 1% of the market, put 1% tax on dirty fuels. When clean fuels got 3% of the market, put a 3% tax extra on dirty fuels and so on, just to make the differential and encourage people to go for clean fuels. And then once clean fuels has got 50% of the market, well, the problem's solved, and you can start taxing clean fuels. And everybody's a winner. And it just seems like a blindingly obvious thing for them to do down the road there. Let's hope they do that, because that will help industry play their part in getting this problem solved.
I was the one that made the decision to leave our news crew in Baghdad when the first Gulf War started, and we covered it from behind the lines. The first time in human history that a news organization had covered a war from behind enemy lines. So I thought a lot. I said, this is responsibility. You've got to think a lot. And it popped up after I thought about it. We've got to end the Cold War. We've got to get rid of nuclear weapons. And we have to take better care of the planet. Not just, there are a lot of other problems. The overfishing in the oceans, the oil spill. There's a lot of other environmental problems other than climate change. That's just one. You got to deal with all of them. I mean, it's, if you've got a good heart but you don't have a liver, you're going to die anyway.
Remarks on the inadequacies of GDP because it does not measure some of the most important economic realities that we have to deal with. GDP does not measure the depletion of natural resources. It does not measure the production of pollution. The economists refer to negative externalities. This is the kind of phrase that induces sleep, but it actually hides a very important reality. We must turn away from continued obsession with carbon-based energy and turn toward the energy sources of the future. And we must incorporate sustainability principles into business plans.
The New York Times a few days ago, and in particular, The quotes in the second paragraph, even with a deal to stop the current rate of greenhouse gas emissions, scientists warn the world will become increasingly unpleasant. But then it goes on to say, without a deal, they say the world could eventually become uninhabitable for humans. Now this is a watershed. For the New York Times to be allowing this to go to print is a new level of realization of the problem in the human imagination.
Because without tar sands on the table, without tar sands meaningfully included, Canada's policy is essentially empty.
If we're going to seriously tackle the climate change problem, the days of building large, traditional, dirty coal-fired power stations in large developed countries is over.
Yeah, we are concerned that all the discussions in this COP17 are leading the world to a situation of catastrophe.
I know that our biggest company, Tata, has just bought 30,000 acres of virgin forest and has slashed it all down to grow food for animals. Why are you allowing the rest of the world to buy your land for feedlots? That is a question that African media should be asking.
The impacts are already manifest on the continent. So we are not speaking of what may happen in 5 years or 10 years. We're talking about what is going on right now. We're speaking about droughts and famines on the continent. Thousands of people displaced from their ancestral homes, living in refugee camps. We're talking about environmental refugees, climate environmental refugees already on the continent. We're talking about floods. We're talking about crop failures, desertification, mudslides, floods not just in Africa, floods in places like Pakistan, where huge tracts of land have been submerged, to mudslides in Latin America, bushfires in Russia. In other words, climate change is a planetary crisis. It's not just a challenge that confronts a few vulnerable people in poor countries. It is a challenge to the whole planet and to every single person. Yesterday at the Faith Rally, Bishop Tutu declared very clearly that those who think that the crisis will exempt them, they actually live in fool's paradise. We may go first in Africa, but everybody's going to join everyone else.
2/3 of the hungry of this world are women. 2/3 of the illiterate of this world are women. And 2/3 of the poor of the world are women. That can't be an accident. That has to be somebody's policy or philosophy of life. That this is a part of the world that you can feed last, house last, educate last, and free last. Where do we get ideas like that?
The first is the report from the International Energy Agency that I'm sure many of you will have seen, which sent really a stark warning to the world that we have 5 years left to prevent irreversible climate change. 5 years. The reason is that if we continue to invest in carbon-intensive infrastructure, the lock-in effect means that it will be too late.
It's important because climate change is not just about dollars. It's about lives. It's about suffering. It's about survival. The health message is central. Our politicians must understand that people are suffering and dying now, and that very, 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 very many more will suffer and die in the future unless they act now.
People power has dramatically risen to meet the climate crisis.
And it's just ridiculous. This green economy that they're talking about is a commodification of everything. The air, the soil, the water, the land. Like they were saying in the conference, anything that has carbon in it, they want to be able to use to offset for more carbon schemes. These COPs, this is the 17th one since they realized there was a problem with climate change. And yet they seem to be going more backwards. They don't care about climate change, it seems. They care about the money that they can make off of it.
In a world filled with the obscenely poor, we are also filled with churchgoers. Now, there's got to be a disconnect.
What is at stake is the life of our children. And that is criminal what the politicians are doing here. The message that they are saying is that they do not represent our interest. They represent the interest of that 1% of people who are engaged in corporations. They represent that interest, which is probably much less than 1%. But the 99% We have to go to the streets and pressure our governments, our politicians to do the right thing. You know, what is coming out as a result of this conference is the moral collapse of governments.
We are seeing a negotiation occurring between those who would protect life on Earth and those who would protect financial interests. That is the heart of the negotiations going on right now.
Not only my children, my grandchildren don't have a future because the impacts which we already see now are so effective.
I think at least the next generation of the children, they still will have the future. But the future, they will have a very sad future. That's my view. I don't think they will know future. They will have the future. The future will be kind of horrified.
That's why we decided to start the University of Earth reality television series. If the world could only know what is happening to the Earth, as told to them by the top people in their field, they would become convinced we have to change what we are doing.
Well, for the past 3 decades, I've been involved in taking people through the region, Southern Africa, and giving them an experience of what we have here.
I went to my friend Russell and I said to him, Russell, I want to put these people into the bush.
Southern Africa represents so many very special aspects of biodiversity, of origins of modern man, of life in all forms. We have more mammals in South Africa than we have in the whole of North America, South America and Europe combined. The diversity is phenomenal. In terms of the peninsula having a relevance to the course is that this at one time was an island. It's a place where the 3 oceans, the Atlantic, Indian and Southern Ocean, have a confluence. So it's very relevant in terms of sea biodiversity.
Imagine the treat of going into the bush with Russell.
In our program that we put together for the University of the Earth, we planned 2 very significant journeys into the eastern wildlife-rich area of South Africa, the Greater Kruger Park, one of the most diverse national parks in the world, the largest wetland system in Africa, the Greater St. Lucia wetland, the mountain kingdom of Lesotho. Right, our western journey is quite different to the eastern journey. The succulent-rich Richtersveld, the Kalahari, the Namib Desert, the Okavango has the greatest show of wildlife on Earth. We end the journey at the mighty Victoria Falls and then finally making our way back to Cape Town.
I feel like, in a way, the University of Earth is like the very tip of an arrow. All we're doing is saying this way, and the rest of the people are going to put their own intelligence and their own ideas and their own wanting and longing to have a different kind of future behind it.
The journey is how the linkages work, how the interrelationships work between places, people, environment.
So here we are going to put people into places where they're going to actually experience the bush in such a way that they begin to care.
We will then achieve personal solutions through various people which we can then combine into a greater vision.
The University of Earth reality television series puts people in front of the camera, exposes them to factors that are missing in existing education, shows them how all aspects of reality are interlinked, and challenges them to find new systems that are more in harmony with the continuation of life on Earth. We'll be covering nutrition, natural agriculture, health, conservation, performing arts, environmental law. The point of doing a reality television show, it's basically to encourage the world to become solution-driven. If you're allowed to throw toxins into the water and into the soil, and you leave out the costs of what the impact is on the environment, then you may appear to be profitable, but what in actual fact you're doing is you are killing your own future as a business because you're eliminating the infrastructure which your clients need to survive.
The solution will grow from here to become a bigger one that would also influence other parts of the world.
30 enthusiastic participants exposed to scientists, authors, experts, great minds, filmed in Monkey Valley Resort and in the ecosystems of Africa, discovering how to change the systems into ones that are in harmony with nature, and sharing the excitement of the journey with viewers worldwide. If you would like to be part of this series, contact us